President Trump's daughter Ivanka and son-in-law Jared Kushner are among those attending the U.S. Embassy move celebration. President Trump is being hailed as courageous for implementing a 23-year-old law mandating the move from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And as we'll see, the move represents a significant turning point for the city and the Jewish people. All of this excitement comes 70 years to the day after President Harry Truman became the first world leader to recognize the State of Israel.
I think America is coming in alignment with biblical truth.
The Bible mentions Jerusalem and Zion almost 1,000 times. It's also been the capital of the Jewish people for 3,000 years.
This has been a theme that's in our spiritual DNA. And therefore, when the President of the United States moves the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem and recognizes Jerusalem as Israel's capital, he is addressing something at the core of Jewish identity.
Behind me is the home of the new U.S. Embassy. President Trump is making history as he moves the embassy from Tel Aviv here to Jerusalem. That history started thousands of years ago when King David captured Jerusalem and made it his capital. 400 years later, the Jewish people are expelled for 70 years to Babylon, then returned to rebuild the Second Temple with the help of Persia's King Cyrus. Former Israeli ambassador to the United Nations Dory Gold says Trump's embassy move might even compare to that biblical king.
That was a huge charitable act on his part, which is in our historical memory. And the fact that now President Trump is going to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem puts him in a special category, and perhaps even the category of the ancient King Cyrus of Persia.
Fast forward to 1967 and the Six-Day War, when Israel reunites Jerusalem under its sovereignty. Then in 1980, Israel officially makes Jerusalem its capital, and countries worldwide move their embassies from the city in protest.
The Christian embassy was founded after 13 national embassies left Jerusalem, and it provided a unique moment where the Jewish people were willing to accept our hand of friendship.
David Parsons is with the International Christian Embassy Jerusalem. As a lawyer, he helped draft the Jerusalem Embassy Act, passed by Congress in 1995, mandating the embassy move to Jerusalem.
And now, 22 years later, after all these delays and waivers, it is back to our order. Trump has recognized Jerusalem. The ambassador is going to be working here, and then they're going to start building the building. So it's sort of a moment of personal vindication for me.
Tony Perkins and Michelle Bachmann are on President Trump's Evangelical Advisory Council. They said the move will be good for the U.S., other nations, and Mideast peace.
The scripture is pretty clear on that, and that those who bless Israel will be blessed.
Israel's enemies have always fought on the propaganda argument of words, the fact that Israel was illegitimate and had no right to this land. President Trump, excuse the pun, played a Trump card. He's taken that argument off the table. He said, look, we aren't going to even talk about this anymore, that Jerusalem is or isn't Israel's. It is. We're making a decision. It is.
President Trump's decision effectively recognizes the western part of the city as Israel's capital. Most holy sites are in the eastern part. Gold says only in a united Jerusalem under Israeli sovereignty would those sites be protected.
Jerusalem's been the capital of the Jewish people for 3,000 years. I don't see that changing. I think as long as we have freedom of worship, freedom of access guaranteed, I think that many in the Arab world will acquiesce to the idea that Jerusalem remains the undivided capital of Israel.